Traveling with Pleiadians. Gifts since childhood. Judith has had waking dreams and visions since she was a child, in which she experiences traveling with Pleiadians. She's been inside many Pleiadian and Arcturian crafts and on Galactic Federation Motherships. She's been to Taygeta many times, and has seen many other planets and beings through Aya's akashic memory. She has flown through space and traveled through portals with Pleiadians, angels, and fairies. Inside the craft. There is a hum inside, very low. Lights can be changed inside by choice as you would in a home. From dim to bright and in many choices of colors. Many races are fluent in one another's light language and the actual sound of what humans would call syllables, but the sound comes out in a tone. Telepathy is also used among friends, such as between Pleiadians and Arcturians. We socialize on many of the planets and stars, but only friends by invitation are allowed on Taygeta. There is lots of music on crafts. At times of area exploring when others are not close by, the music is enjoyed in beats, and many songs and melodies on Earth originated from the Pleiades, Arcturus and Sirius, as well as instruments. Meeting Lemia. I have seen thousands of crafts of many shapes and sizes. Motherships and fleets entering from many angles and docks that move and extend to open and receive. This craft was saucer-shaped, round from the inside. I did not see the outside. I was already there. It was 3/4 size of football field, 75 yards across. The Pleiadian that approached me was from Electra. He is an elder and close friend to Iki. Lemia is his name. He stood over 6 feet tall with black hair and a braid down his back. He wore all white. He came to me and stood about 8 feet away and opened his hands and had letters of all kinds. Words were formed in the air that were Pleiadian, and he continued moving his hands until the letters spelled "We love you so." He pushed them in the air toward me. I read them several times and then he turned and was gone. I was inside the craft and alone. It was mostly white with thousands of lights. There were some areas decked out in silver and gold with crystals embedded for decor. There were seats lined up in train style, and as the craft was round, the seats fit perfectly. I noticed the craft was moving at a great speed, but I was perfectly still. The openings were geometric all over, and through the open weave of the design was deep space. I could see that I could view the stars and planets with ease. Also, there were large windows. The craft itself was spinning counterclockwise, and energy on the outside was golden light. Neo explained that the panels I saw were able to do anything. This craft was not entirely seen because of the enormous extensions beneath and above that could extend and expand. This craft was large, but not the largest. Not a mothership, but a scaled-down version. It could pick up other crafts and also sit stationary, cloak, enter mountains and water, and become invisible. There were thousands of rows of colored lights flashing on a panel. There were also pure white lights. Each light had a function. To transmute energy, to detect another craft, to remove or take down crafts, to assist Earth or other planets in trouble, to entertain and provide music and resting areas, produce games and magic for entertainment, to speak to family at home as well as to organize galactic meetings. The craft could be lived on for as long as chosen. Water and food were always present. Nothing was needed. All needs met. There were levers and lights to push to open to rooms to exercise or work with crystals and meditate. Yoga-type movement has always been done for relaxing and meditating. White hats have access to these types of crafts to call or be called, and discussions of many kinds are made. I was very fascinated at the spinning and also seeing deep space. The look was sleek and clean and meant to be this way because with one touch anything could be there for you. Most of this was unseen, but it was all there as needed. I have seen so many. This one was so beautiful. There are geometric spaces in patterns of sacred geometry like windows that are transparent. I can see through the craft. There are also windows, all sizes and shapes. The seats are facing one way in a long area like a bus, but do not go all the way around. There are other seating areas and lounging areas with couches, just comfy seats, not couches. The train bus seats are next to the wall in front of me to the right. It is so large the curve does not interfere. The outer covering was spinning fast. The inside was not spinning at all. I could see through all of it. There are many sections inside for privacy. Inside the triangle craft. I was inside another craft, and it was more of a triangular shape from within and had a faint lavender glow inside. Smaller than the last and no seats, lots of gadgets and knobs. I did not see anyone else. Traveling with Laka. I was given a gift to experience and share. I was asleep and woke up completely because my back, lower spine was tingling and vibrating. This moved to cover my entire back. Then it moved around me and covered my front and arms. Then it moved up my neck and like a circle it was between my eyes. By then I am very awake and this was very different. Remember I have lamps on so I could see the light, but I was really aware of the vibrating. Then with eyes closed I was flying. I looked up and we were in deep space. You were right there with me, and so was Laka. Laka was at a control panel with lots of lights. There were also levers, knobs and a large screen. Like showing directions of space. Very technical looking. The craft was large and only had 2 colors. Red and black. I noticed it had a thick metal look. Me and you were at one of the openings like a door, but not a door or window. Kind of like a place you could push a button and it opened to view. It was at an angle and more on floor level than up. We sat there watching space and we slowed. You looked right at me and said, "That is the east side of Bailiki." I said, "I know." Then up we went and Laka did some show-off moves and we went all over the place. It was so much fun. Laka just smiled at me. Tossed his long black hair and off we went. Then I was alone in space, still awake, and wanting to know what the craft looked like. To my surprise, there it was below me to view. It was the shape of a kite stretched very long. On the edges there were curves and contours and some windows, red in color, with Pleiadian artwork and writing on it. Inside was both black and red. Facing a monster. I had a dream which was a life here in very ancient times. What Neo told me when I woke up was that we lived as Pleiadians openly among humans, and we still would come and go to home. This was a time I still do not know about and have not asked more, as this day has been tiring. But this is what happened. I saw a group of people and a big, ugly, hard to describe being. I can still see it in my mind. And the people were yelling for a Pleiadian. We need a Pleiadian, if we just had a Pleiadian. I ran straight to them as I was yelling, I am Aya. You know my family. I was saying all the names as I ran. They moved out of the way and I went face to face with the being and yelled, I am Aya. Go. I saw it snarl and back up, and then it turned and ran away. I saw all of you coming at this time. I was strong and brave. It was amazing. It was a lucid dream also, and I woke up then. Meeting Zaki. I entered a room that was very bright. There was a female teacher with long blonde hair, and I was told there would a new student. I watched as two young men entered, and to my surprise, Neo followed. I was just there to observe. One man was blonde and one had dark hair. The one with dark hair was not new there, but to assist the other one in getting familiar with the place. I tried to be friendly and talk to them. The dark-haired one seemed to ignore me at first, and the other was friendly. The dark-haired one looked over at me like he wondered why I was there. I listened as he was teaching the other guy. I noticed his voice was so deep, deeper than any man I had ever heard. It almost had a frequency I had not heard. He also was shorter than human. His head was a little smaller and his hair was thick and black, and he wore it down his neck. His hands were much larger than human and his fingers were curled a little. His eyes were much larger than human. The lady left and I was just watching. He told him this was a new frequency for him, the blonde guy. He told him this was a place of learning before entering the physical third dimension again. He was to reincarnate again before going back to the Pleiades. He had decided to not go back yet and not live in non-physical. This was like a checkpoint place of review. To go over the life plan with another and decide on any details. The blonde guy quickly caught on and became very happy and excited. Neo was sitting there watching also and smiled at me. I told the dark-haired guy that Neo was my guide and that I was Aya and he was my son as Neo. He then jumped up as though I was a queen. He totally knew Neo and did not know me until then. Neo often brings Pleiadians here if they decide to come back before going elsewhere. They need orientation and soul direction only to clear the energy. Neo explained this to me. This is a frequency high above Earth, but is specific to Earth. It is not detected by any others. This man that I saw was not Pleiadian, but a friend that lives only in this frequency. He was invited long ago to do this work. He is originally from a small galaxy far from here. He is a good being and dedicated himself to serve the Pleiadian light force. Zeki is his name. There are others that assist him, but I did not see them. The woman was Pleiadian, but I never saw her again. The dark-haired Zeki from this point talked to me. He had this frequency deep voice and totally was happy I was there. I finally left with Neo and we were in a burst of light. I woke up. Visiting the mothership. During the night, as I am awake over and over, the sky suddenly turned lavender. It was beautiful. I was in deep space and it was with a lavender hue. Then Neo said, "Enjoy, beloved." The sky in space got brighter and totally lavender. I see a saucer craft to my left and far away that I followed at exact speed. I was just watching it in consciousness, not in a craft. We flew through space, millions of miles, very fast. Then the craft slowed and I saw a huge saucer craft stopped in space. It opened from the side, like a piece of pie, it opened wide. The smaller craft entered it. Neo said, "These are ours." It was amazing. I could see a little into the large craft and it had several others that had been picked up. Flying with Neo. We were in this amazing craft. He was laughing and excited that I was blown away. I was wide awake. I watched all kinds of things. I was not flying or thinking about it. Then in a split second, up I went. Upward like to space. Usually I am in consciousness and no body. I do not need a craft. I never looked down at my body, but since Neo had one, I am sure I did. I was so excited. I saw this huge circle like a giant bubble appear right in front of me. Then it moved over me. Then another burst from it in light. I saw Neo then. Then another and another as this craft got huge. It was made like the shape of bubbles, all clear and lit up. It was moving at a great speed and Neo told me that these are often used because from high up they can't be seen. He said these are great fun because you can see out in any direction. It was all clear. But from within there was light. There was a panel in the one bubble we were in and lots of little knobs and flashes. Neo would hit different ones and it would pop out another giant bubble. This was awesome. My consciousness was blended with his and we spoke telepathically. It was fun. Beautiful. I had not seen this before. He also told me that seeing Arcturus and the Pleiades in ancient scripture was good for us. Not for religion, but to confirm that we were here and that Pleiadians were the first created beings and were always coming to Earth and other planets and galaxies. It is also why we are great friends with Arcturians. They are very loving also. Inside the mothership. I was stunned to close my eyes and see that I was inside a huge mothership. It was full of Pleiadians. They were walking around and some sitting and looking out the windows, which went all the way around. It was so large that I could not see the shape of the whole thing, but it was circular with many sections inside. I saw many sitting at panels with all kinds of buttons and gadgets and things. Like a giant gamepad. These were directing things and communicating with other races. We were high in space. I could see out of the windows with depth perception. The Pleiadians were all dressed the same. Maybe a light pale blue, almost white, like a uniform that fits like skin. There were both male and female and long and shorter hair of all colors. A visit from Neo. Awake at 2 a.m. Eyes closed. I thought to the fairies, I love you, as they were gathered around. Then I felt somebody sit on the bed. It went down on the lower left side and my covers pulled. I got very still to see if it was my imagination. It happened again and then again. This time a tug on my top cover. I opened my eyes and looked around, and there was Neo. He was glistening in light and smiling. Just sitting there in complete darkness with me. Just his look calmed me, and I looked at him silently, knowing he was letting me know everything is fine. His long blonde hair fell around his shoulders and down his back. He had on white and sat legs bent, barefoot. Then I watched as he became more ethereal and faded. I knew he was still with me. I was able to go back to sleep, but as soon as I closed my eyes, I saw this gigantic portal. I saw angels and light beings all over the place. I watched in amazement. I was able to go back to sleep. Vision of a dark planet. Crafts, deep space, angels, fairies, beautiful. Then I was in another place, on another planet, and I was observing these men that changed into reptilians. They had snakes all over them also. I had no fear at all, and I was Aya. All of you were with me. It was a ceremony, and we were observing. There were pools of greenish water, and it was very ugly. They did nothing to us. We were there to discuss something. Our family entered on a large light craft, and then we left. Dream within a dream. About 2 a.m. I was asleep, and in the dream I was in my bed asleep. I suddenly woke up when a younger version of Neo literally flew into my room, just his body in the air. He motioned for me to come. I sat up, and when I did, the whole world was in beautiful, bright, vivid colors. I could see the sky was turquoise. There were beautiful people all over, and everybody was having a great time. I started getting up and watching Neo continue to motion to me to fly. I was thinking, how? I suddenly decided to just do it. I flew upward with my body and intent. It was amazing and gorgeous. I flew with Neo all over the place. It was Taygeta. I saw everybody in our family. I saw lots of friends. I saw the musical instruments, food, tapestries. There seemed to be a festival of some kind. So many sitting on the velvet grass and smiling. We flew all over the place. I realized he had taken me back in time, to AYA, and when he was younger. I saw Kabamur. It was so wonderful. I saw a few others flying also. Then Neo got too far away from me. I was flying around looking for him. I had the complete sensation of flying, moving, and it was only my body. Then when I could not find Neo, I heard him say telepathically, "Hope you enjoyed that." I woke up in my bed again. This was amazing. Flying, fairies, and portals. Taygeta. I was there, and this is what I saw and felt. I was walking barefoot on silky grass. It felt like the softest texture ever. I was awake, but I could feel it as I had entered this consciousness. I saw the beauty and colors. I saw the huge flowers. I looked into the distance and saw many huge blue mountains with colors bouncing off of them in light. I saw all of you sitting on the most beautiful tapestry-type blankets. Everybody smiled at me. I could hear this beautiful music from all directions. It seemed to be in layers and tones, but a gorgeous melody. I heard hundreds of instruments all playing together. I could see many playing the instruments, and some were further away. Neo approached me, and this time he hugged me. I felt him. He pointed to the mountains. He told me they were solid lapis. He explained that Taygeta was the source of all lapis. We were the ones to bring lapis and other stones to Earth. Lapis was powerful in Egypt. We walked to the area of the tapestries, and most seemed to be so engaged in conversation. Many smiled. Ikai approached barefoot in a long robe. This robe had many stones, diamonds, lapis, and more. It glittered as he walked to me. He hugged me and smiled. I felt so loved. Neo took me closer to what the groups were sitting on. I saw that lapis was woven into the material. I walked on it, and it was so soft. Neo told me, in my language here, that these were works of art made throughout the ages by Pleiadians. Many were given as gifts to other races that visited us. I also saw angels and light beings floating all over the place. At times they came to the ground and seemed to eat something. There were crystals all over the place. Neo said they ate liquefied quartz crystals. When they touched the crystals, they became soft and like powder and then turned to liquid. This liquid was placed into the body simply by touching the hand to the body. I am not sure how that was done, but I saw it. Neo said that on many journeys, liquid quartz was the choice to eat because of the transmission and knowing where each was. Some would leave the crafts or station to explore, and the quartz gave off a frequency. In 5D, one of the great changes will be crystal DNA. There are other things consumed on Taygeta, such as huge colorful fruits and vegetables, seeds and nuts and grasses. It was a magnificent visit. Visiting Taygeta. I spent hours flying through the galaxies. I saw angels and light beings in space. I was not in a craft. I was consciousness as AYA. I flew as light. I saw the Pleiades in the sky and decided to land. I came to an area of beautiful silky grass. Now I was in the body of Aya. I was Aya. I ran my toes through the grass and it was so soft. I picked a flower and put it in my hair. It was huge and orange in color. I knew everybody. Most had white silky hair. Even some small children matched their parents. I also saw brown, black, pink, and any color chosen. White was what I saw the most. Everybody loved everybody. I felt it. I could not hear, but I could see them talking and laughing. Children were rolling around and playing and had light toys. They pushed buttons and it made colored lights. Everybody seemed to just pick up food from platters on beautiful cloth, or they picked fruit from trees. The fruit was huge. There seemed to be not a care. I felt totally at peace. Everybody did. I felt one with them. I don't know how much time passed, but I left and began to travel again. I knew that my boys were out traveling as well. Ikai was with Galactic Federation. It was an amazing experience.